Okay, Amicia.
Start.
Yes.
Good evening, all, and welcome to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Sigma Theta Omega Chapter Sips and Savings Part 2 Investments, a 3-part financial workshops. At this time, I bring Mrs. Julisse Holder, President of Sigma Theta Omega, to bring you greetings.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening to our viewing audience, to our esteemed presenters, and to our hosts. My name is Julisse Holder, and I am the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Theta Omega Chapter on the islands of St. Thomas and St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands. And on behalf of my 60+ members, I would like to thank you for joining us this evening. I am fired up about tonight as we bring to you part 2 of our 3-part financial workshop series. Tonight's workshop specifically does a deep dive into investing. We have 3 lovely, educated, experienced ladies from the Ivy Investment Klub, Dr. Katasha Butler, Mrs. Claudia Chavez, and Ms. Tamiko Creighton, to take us to school. Grab your notebook, grab your pencil, grab your mocktail, and your forward thinking, and let's get educated together. As my coworker recently reminded me, financial freedom is the ultimate goal for us all. So without further ado, I return the floor to Ms. Martin. Welcome once again.
Thank you, Mrs. Holder, for such a warm and energetic greeting. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a brief set of house rules. Tonight's seminar is being recorded, and we just ask that you stay attentive. All questions will be placed in the question and answer section of your screen. Tonight, we're more than excited to bring you ladies of the Ivy Investment Klub, 12K, Dr. Katasha Butler, Ms. Claudia Chavez, and Ms. Tamiko Creighton. These ladies are beaming with excitement to present tonight. But before we get started, let's get to know them. Mrs. Claudia J. Chavez is a Golden Soror and current member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Mu Omega Chapter. She's the current president and founding member of the Ivy Investment Klub, 12K. Claudia recently retired as president and CEO of Caregivers Incorporated and Caregivers 2, a licensed and certified home healthcare agency committed to fostering independence, preserving the dignity, and maintaining the quality of life for homebound individuals. Caregivers 2 is a non-medical agency which is dedicated to providing personal assistance in managing life's day-to-day activities for individuals whom require more hands-on support due to the effects of long-term chronic illness. Claudia attended Indiana University, Bloomington, where she received her Bachelor's of Science in Medical Technology and Master's degree in Health Administration at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. Her dedication to community extends to her board appointments, which have included the Mental Health Association of Marion County, Indiana University Neil Marshall Alumni Association, Indianapolis Arts Center, Hamilton County Senior Services, Indianapolis Senior Center, and the Indiana Association for Home and Hospice Care. She is the recipient of numerous awards, including the Breakthrough Women by the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, celebrating the entrepreneurial spirit of women-owned businesses by the Network of Women in Business, Distinguished Entrepreneur by the Indianapolis chapter of Lynx, and Public Health Star by the Indiana Health and Hospital Corporation. She's married to attorney Patrick E. Chavis III. They have two lovely children, Patrick E. Chavis IV and Natalie Chavez, and a daughter, Natalie Chavez, and two grandchildren, Peyton and Patrick V. Our next presenter is Miss Tamiko Creighton. She's a 25-year member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the current vice president of Alpha Mu Omega chapter and a past president of the Ivy Club 12K. She currently works for R-Glass Packaging in Fishers, Indiana, as the People Development Manager. Tamiko has served in many roles in Alpha Mu Omega, including secretary, graduate advisor, and also president of the Ivy Investment Incorporated. At the regional level, Tamiko has served on several committees and chairs several committees, such as the conference publicity, the EAF Legacy Breakfast Chair, and the Protocol Committee and Conference Workshop Facilitator. In the community, many organizations count on her involvement, including the University of Indianapolis Alumni Board, Association of Talent Development, the Lynx Incorporated, YWCA Boards of Directors, Women's Fund Perspectives Groups, and Lacey's Leadership, the LEAD program. Tamiko is a proud mother of her daughter, Kindia Greer. Our next presenter is Ms. Katasha S. Butler, is the immediate past president of the 12K Club, an active member of the Alpha Mu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and currently serves as the VP of Ivy Endowment, Inc. Dr. Butler is a part of the pharmacy leadership team at the Eskenazi Health, specializing in medication using process and regulatory compliance. She joined the team in June 2019 with over 16 years of leadership experience. Dr. Butler has served as the Associate Adjunct Professor at Butler University, precepting pharmacy students since 2004. She currently teaches advanced pharmacology and the psychopharmacologically for the MSN program at Walden University. Dr. Butler is a Danville, Illinois native. She's the proud Spelman alumni. After Spelman, she went to obtain her Master's of Business Administration in Leadership and Doctor of Pharmacy degree at Butler University. Dr. Butler has been published in the Annals of Pharmacotherapy, Pharmacy Times, and has been featured in numerous books and publications. She has received many AKA awards at the chapter and regional levels. In her spare time, she likes to read, shop, volunteer, plan events, and travel the world. Dr. Butler is very active in the community through membership and participation in numerous activities to include the Lynx Incorporated Dance Kaleidoscope, Laura Lee Fellowship House, and Butler University Dean's Advisory Council. She previously served on the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana Board of Directors, Shalom Healthcare Center Board of Directors, and United Way of Central Indiana youths as resource advisors. Now that we've gotten acquainted with these ladies, who's going to present this evening, I hope you have your drinks ready, like I do, so that we can sip, learn, and save. Without further ado, I present to you the ladies of the Investment Klub.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Armesia, for that introduction and for presenting our bios. We really appreciate it. We are proud members of the Ivy Investment Klub, which we call I2K. I do understand when it comes through in text, it looks different, but we are with Ivy Investment Klub. That is one of two investment clubs that Alpha Mu Omega chapter hosts. We were founded in 2000, and the reason why I requested Ms. Claudia Chavis to be here is because she is one of our founding members of the investment club. So she was there from the very beginning, starting in 2000. And so I would like to turn it over to Mrs. Chavis, and she's just going to talk about how we started this investment club and a little bit of the history from then until now.
Thank you. Again, we started the Ivy Investment Klub in 2000. And the rate we came up with the I2K, if you remember, that was a time that everybody was concerned about Y2K. So we decided that I2K sounded like it fit in 2000. One of the national targets of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority at that time was economic empowerment. And it was the inspiration behind the formation of Ivy Investment Klub. In January of 2000, Alpha Mu Omega Chapter's Economic Empowerment Committee launched its first investment club, educating the partners about investing in small group format became the mission of our investment club. Because many of our sorority sisters were dealing with employers who were transitioning from pension plans to self-directed 401k retirement plans, the national program target became particularly important. The chapter's program chairman at that time was an executive at a major corporation. And by the way, she is still with us as a founding member. She recognized that we as women needed to strengthen our investment skills to enhance our own retirement portfolios. So the investment club joined the Better Investing, which was formerly known as National Association of Investing Corporations, NAIC. And from the beginning, we used their format, and this has served us well. We've used their format for education and accounting programs. All of our members are invited to participate in each scheduled workshop or seminar that the club schedules throughout the year. So you don't have to be a member of the investment club to attend our workshops. When we started, there was so much participation that we tried to keep the numbers to 20. So we actually launched a second investment club in the beginning so that we could get as many people of our sorority members involved as wanted to be involved. The program chairman came to me because I was already a member of an investment club. I was in a co-ed investment club called Black Enterprise Investment Klub, and they were founded in 1986. So I had been a member of that club since then. I knew how to start a club, where to go for the information, where to get the resources. And for a time, I actually stayed in both the investment clubs. So we have, I've had 35 years in investment clubs. I've seen them grow. I've seen people come and go, but I retired and I'm still involved. Okay. With that, other than any questions later on how to start an investment club, I would be happy to help you with that. But that's sort of my history. I have done some personal investing, and I think we'll talk about that a little later. So I'll turn it over to Katasha first.
Thank you, Mrs. Chavis, for that quick introduction. And so before I joined, Tamiko is not a founding member, but she is a longstanding member of I2K. And so I wanted her to bring the perspective of, why she joined in an investment club, what her personal experience was in investing with the club and outside of the club, and what did she focus on, and what growth did she see during her time as the president of I2K. So I'll turn it over to Tamiko.
Thank you, Dr. Butler. Good evening, everyone. So I joined Ivy Investment Klub about 3 years after its inception, and I really had a passion or a desire to learn more about investing. I knew a little bit at a very high level about mutual funds, just from my personal experience, but never really had gotten into the stock market itself. So I joined the organization just really to get a better knowledge, and as well as I thought I could save and make some money and invest on my own as well. So one of the things that I noticed first when I got into the club is these women were serious about studying your stocks. I just thought you really just kind of looked at, a stock, what you used, etc. There was research that we engaged in, and we still do. We went to the library to get materials. We looked at the company itself and its history, and really took a deep dive into learning about the stocks. And that was really, for me, very interesting to really dive beyond what you may see on the news, and really kind of look at what's trending within a certain organizations. I think it was also fun to learn some of the tools. We went from going to the library to having a lot of electronic tools, and just watching that shift within the organization became really exciting to me. And it's been my experience, I think, throughout the organization. We started off with having study groups. So it was, for me, it was also a way that I got to interact with different members in the club, and we got to think of different stocks, look at different stocks, and you would come to the meetings and you would present your stocks. Sometimes they bought them. Sometimes if you recommended to buy them, it would work. Sometimes it would not. And we were okay with that because we were a small group. Now, periodically, it does still come up that if we would have bought X and X when we talked about it, but we let that go because we're looking at what the goals and objectives are of our particular investment club. And I think it's really important that you recognize the club should have its own goals and objectives, but you as a person may have something very different. And so I really did use this club to say, okay, what am I going to invest in personally? So there were times where the club passed on the stock and I bought it. There was times the club sold and I kept, and maybe I lost, maybe I didn't. But for me, it was really helpful to get me started looking and doing things for myself. And so that's kind of been my own experience. I think as president of the organization, I really tried to focus just naturally on my background with educating and how do we start to leverage the tools. And I think Dr. Butler kind of took that as well when she was president. There are a lot of online tools. And if you think about the club started in 2000, we started when you had to go to the library and pull up your value line. And we didn't really have the better investing tools like we do now. So learning some of those tools, it takes time. And you have to be patient with your members when they're going through and trying to learn those tools. So I spent a lot of time in my administration doing a lot of educating on those tools and during practices in our meeting. so that the club members or partners, as we call them, could kind of get familiar with them, and it would help facilitate them coming up and making better recommendations about their stock. So that's kind of been my overall experience. Dr. Butler, you want to share where you focused during your administration?
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you, Tamiko. So I am the newbie of the group. I've only been in I2K going on maybe about 5 years, or coming up on 5 years. And I will say my first introduction ever to investing was in the 5th grade. And we did a stock market game, and we did it for a whole year in the 5th grade. We had, you know, a fake pot of money. Our teacher let us, we looked at a USA Today every day, and we bought stocks with our money, and then we tracked them through the whole year. It was a competition. You know, you were trying to figure out which team made the most money with their purchases, and that never left me. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that as my first introduction to stocks and investment is because we need to start that with our children very early. The best way to make money is time. Opposite of just making, you know, a lot of cash from whatever your endeavors are. If you're going to invest, time is your friend. And I think about now at my age, I'm 44. If I had taken $5,000 when I was 20 and just set it in a mutual fund or something and just let it sit, how much money would I have today by doing that? And so we need to make sure we are reaching our children early so they know the power of time, money, and investments. And so that's why, you know, I always was interested in it from that first introduction in the 5th grade. Even while I was in college, I started dabbling. So you had things like Share Builder, E-Trade. So I started a Share Builder account with my 2 nickels that I had to rub together because I was still in school. But that, I just kind of dabbled in it and just kept, you know, doing research, purchasing stock that, and what I did when I purchased my own stock, it was based off of what did I use and what did I like. I love Target. Everybody around me loves Target. So I was like, let me buy Target stock. I use lots of branded products that Procter & Gamble manufactures. Let me purchase, you know, some Procter & Gamble stock. So that's basically how I started Starbucks. So that was my philosophy when I was doing it, you know, underfunded and on my own. So I wanted to take a deeper dive. I knew that our chapter had investment club. Thankfully, we did not have a wait list when I wanted to come in. And so I joined it, did my meetings. Then next thing you know, they were like, we think you need to be the president. Do you want to do it? So I was only in maybe like 5 or 6 months before I became the president of Ivy Investment Klub. What I focused on as the president was growing. We did a lot of growth in membership and getting our members acclimated to the electronic tools that were available. So not proficiency in use, but just using it, going out, looking at it. We started doing some Zoom meetings around that time, or allowing people, you know, projecting so everybody could see when we're looking at stock studies and things like that. And so under my administration, we had a lot of growth and people were showing up and they were coming to the meetings and eager to learn. We eventually increased our membership to 25 members just because of the interest in joining investment club, and now we have a wait list. One of the things that you want to look out for is you don't want to make your investment clubs too big if you decide to start one or join one. Because when you have too many people, it can just get unwieldy. As Tamiko alluded to, the club may or may not follow your own personal investment philosophy. I have a higher risk tolerance than some of the members in the investment club. So I cannot, be upset when, they don't want to take on a particular security or, because of the different levels of risk. That's why we're doing it together. But I have my own portfolio outside of the investment club that if I want to take on something that is a higher risk, then I am free to do that. And so we just had unprecedented growth, kind of stabilized with attendance, using the better investment tools that were available to us, which was, helps manage your club. And then maybe a year after I came in, just doing that, our portfolio reached $200,000. So that was a huge milestone. We celebrated it with the chapter. You could look, if you looked at our entire portfolio from the start of 2000 to what it looks like today, it was kind of like a straight line, and then we just kind of took off. And so I was able to set the stage for Mrs. Claudia Chavis. So when she took over as president, she took us basically back, just like hit the reset button to get us really involved in right sizing our portfolio, looking at what securities we held. Do we hold enough of them? Is it a negligible amount? Do we need to, get rid of some low performers so we can use that money elsewhere that may give us a better return? And I'll let her tell you about it, but we hit the 200,000 milestone under my presidency, but then we hit a greater milestone after Claudia took over as president. And I do believe it's just from the steady education, right sizing, and everybody buckling down and, being very serious about education, making the right decisions, and really looking into these companies and tracking them. So I'll let Claudia, I'm sorry, guys, take over and talk about what she did to get us to our next milestone that, we are totally excited about.
Before Dr. Butler took over and left me with 25 members, our membership had dwindled, and we were actually having trouble getting a quorum. So we needed to do something to get more members in, because it was, it was like, okay, I'm tired. I have to go to the meeting. We don't want to try anything new. Just you guys do it, and that's okay. So what I did with the 25 members is I reset the clock again. All organizations and businesses have to do this periodically. And for 90 days, we did not invest in anything. I took everybody back to 90-day basics. And we went back to our philosophy, because we'd gotten away from our philosophy. We were dependent too much on emotion and not using the tools as we knew we should have been. So better investing philosophy, which we adopted, and we came up with our own policy statement, investment policy statement. The philosophy is to invest a set amount of money regularly, and we do that. And from day one, we only invested a minimum of $25. So anybody can afford to pay the $25. Now, most people pay more, but a lot of people just pay the $25 and then put the rest of the money in their private account. But invest a set amount regularly, reinvest all in earnings is what we did, and buy high quality growth stock and diversify. And the diversify, we mean by sector, industries, company size. You don't want all of anything, because the economy, if we had all tech and they had a tech crash, then we crashed. So we tried to follow that, get back and reset to that philosophy. And that's what we've done a good job. We called on some experts actually to look at our portfolio and give us advice And we called her more than one, and not people who were charging us, just people from the Better Investing who volunteers to help any investment club. And so I think we reset the target. We have more participation. We have we hit the mark of 400,000 this year. But remember, we started in 2000, so it takes a long time to get to that. So what we're hoping to do is to reset so that in the next 5 years we reach 1 million. And there's no reason we can't reach 1 million, because we know other clubs who have done it, and we know other clubs who look like us who have done it. So we've reached out to get assistance from other people, and we're on our way.
And what I would like to point out in that is, I talked about we reached 200,000 about 3 years ago. So from 2000 to like 2017, 18-ish, the portfolio from, just starting, new members, excitement, not really knowing the best way to go about things, but it steadily grew to 200,000. In almost like 2 years, we doubled that just by buckling down, going back to the investment philosophy, everybody doing their part, everyone showing up and participating as partners. And so from 17 years to then 2 years, we doubled the valuation of our portfolio. And so, I always say this investment club money is not going to retire me, but it will be a nice little egg that I can do something with, outside of my own investment portfolio and my retirement through my job and the other things that I'm doing for my retirement. And it's I think it's just a great thing to be making money with Black women who, are supportive of me, look like me, and it's just a fun time. And so anytime that we can do that, it's a win-win. And I'm just looking forward to how, us going to 800,000. I just see our portfolio doubling until we make it to that 1 million. And so I'm just happy to have been a part of that process and excited for what Ms. Chavis, as a business person, entrepreneur, and a member of the sorority, I think she just has a wealth of knowledge, and she's helped us tremendously. We always used to go to her for all the questions. So, but at this time, Tamiko, I did want you to touch on a little more about your own personal investment philosophy and what you have been doing and why you've been doing that. And then after that, we'd be happy to open it up to questions to the group.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. So I would say, I'm similar to Katasha. In our club, I am a little more, I will take a little more risk. But when I am in the club and I'm meeting, when they are talking about a stock, I'm running my reports too. I can see what other people run as well. But I'm like, okay, now if I move these numbers, what happens and how does that feel? And so I started out with, like Dr. Katasha, and looking at things that were important to me and that I used. But then I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening in our world, in our community, and where is this going? So I gained that depth. But I really take what comes into our meetings and really try to do it on my own and look and see, does this work for me? How comfortable would I be if I invest in something that was really risky? Can I afford that? Do I have a couple nickels that I'm like, we can put that in there? Maybe, and sometimes I do. I have a set pool that I'm like, okay, this is my risk pool. This is how much money I'm comfortable putting in a very risky stock. And I'll just put a couple dollars in there and see what happens for me. But I think the key for me is that anytime something comes up, I will run my own report and I will question the partners and say, how did you get those numbers? And why did you pick those numbers? And it's not that I don't believe what they're saying. I'm really trying to determine, one, how am I going to vote in the club? Am I going to vote for us to buy it or sell it? Or do I really want this for myself? So my questions to the club members are twofold. And they actually know that I'm asking those questions because we've talked about it, like, oh, you're not buying that? You're ready to buy this. And they've seen me do it right in the meeting. I'll go on my little app and I'll go ahead and make some purchases based on what we've talked about in our club. And I think the other thing that's really helpful for me and what I do is when we start doing our quarterly stock reports, I can go back years. I can tell you when we first brought a stock to our club because I have ran the stock selection guide. I've already ran it. So, and all I have to do is keep updating it. It stays in my saved files for the technology that we use. And so that's kind of what I have been doing and how I've kind of invested on my own. The club has really helped me with that.
And it's, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Go on. I wanted to add something to what's just been said. First of all, I'd like to commend the two of you that you have taken what you've learned and made it work for you personally. But do know that everybody in the club does not do that.
Mm-hmm.
They have to, but there comes a time, hopefully, when everybody will. When I started 35 years ago, it took me 5 years to have the confidence to have my own portfolio. It took me 5 years. Well, first of all, we had to use calculators. We didn't have computers to do what we needed to do. So I was interested. I never gave up. And there was a time when I only had personally an IRA. That's all I had confidence in having. And then, of course, once I started my business, I could have other different kinds of sources, but did have the confidence to save for my grandchildren. I set up custodial accounts for them and invested directly with Procter & Gamble. And when they got ready to go to college, that's telling you a little bit about my age. These two are my children's age. Well, I had saved an immense amount of money for them and they were surprised to get that. But again, it's okay if you don't have your own portfolio. You should just keep putting that $25 in and watching, and one day you'll say, aha, I can do it. Hopefully it doesn't take 5 years like it took me.
Right. And one of the things, investments, Ms. Chavis just talked about IRA. Investments are not just stocks. I mean, you have many, many vehicles on saving money and making money interest over time. So you have mutual funds and IRAs and, all of those are long IRAs. Some are like more long-term investment strategies. Some are short-term and more liquid. But one of the things, and this is just by listening, I had an employee who was older than me. And he, just in talking to him, he talked to me about how he started custodial accounts for his sons and they didn't know it. And when they got to college, when they were, about to go to college, he told them, well, I do have money to pay for you to go to school, but if you get scholarships and you maintain those scholarships, when you graduate, there is a nest egg waiting for you. And so this is just a regular working pharmacist. He's not a millionaire, working and investing. And he was able to gift his kids upon graduation, like $100,000 for them to use to, down payments on homes, to get their life started. And that was just by investing a little bit over time. And so again, I know that as a people, we don't necessarily, we probably didn't have access to the information. B, we are a couple generations out of where we are having extra disposable income and not just, enough income for us to get by. But this is the information that is being passed from generation to generation. and giving them a leg up. And we need to get in that mind frame so we can give our kids a leg up. And so if you were to take away anything out of this conversation tonight, that's what it would be. The earlier, the better. It doesn't have to be large amounts. You can do small amounts, $25 a month. In my own personal account, you know, since I've done it for a while, I do larger amounts. But just start small. But the key is just to start.
Dr. Butler, I think you bring up a good point. We had a question where someone did ask, what's the best approach to investing for beginners? And I think you hit on something very important. Just start. You know, I don't know about you. I was not always successful and made tons of money when I started because I was really just like, I liked that. I didn't know anything about the stock that I was investing in other than I frequent that establishment. But I just started. I started with a few little nickels and dimes here or there, and just invested and watched it grow and go up and down, which is what it did. But then as I became more knowledgeable, you know, my choices changed and how I invested changed. So I would say for me, the best approach is just to start. And Claudia, there was a question, what we were speaking to was there was a question where someone asked, what is the best approach to investing for beginners?
You're muted.
There you go.
Okay, good. And I was sorry, did you answer that question? Are you asking me?
Yeah, but I was just going to ask for your thoughts. What would you recommend to someone who is a beginner to investing? What would you suggest?
Well, I believe in investment clubs. There's an investment club almost anywhere. Now that we're virtual, it doesn't matter that you're in the same city. To me, that's the basic, because I believe in investing in the stock market. Now, that's how I started. And actually, at some point when I started my business, I took some money from my investment club. It's long term, but I took an amount that I needed to start my business. And so savings is not, you don't make any money in a savings account. The best way is in the stock market as far as I'm concerned, but you can also invest directly with a company. If there's a company that you like I did with Procter & Gamble, Disney, any, you know, do some research and they will take the money out of your account. If you want to, most of them, the minimum is $50. So no, you're not going to miss $50 a month. Have it automatic, but automatic and regular. That's the thing. But again,
Right, that's the key, regular.
Automatic and regular, because you don't normally have the discipline to make it automatic. So if you don't count it, it's there and you look up, oh, I didn't know I put that much in. You know, that's might be a meal that you could have had, but meal's not long-term. So
Right.
That's my suggestion.
And ladies, we have a couple other questions too. One question is, what if you're locked into a mandatory retirement savings with your job? Do you recommend an IRA and why?
So first, let me give the caveat that we are not financial experts. So we are not giving you specific financial advice. We're just telling you what we did. But yes, I would definitely recommend that you have your own separate IRA outside of your job. These days, you just never know what can happen with a company. A company could go belly up and take, you know, your match or whatever with them. You just never know. So I would always recommend that you have your own IRA. There's tax implications for that. I definitely need the tax shelter. So I do my own IRA. Thankfully, my honeydew is a financial advisor. So I do have the, you know, access to talk to him and gives me strategies and things like that. But even before, he was actually in the financial services industry. He was a scientist before then. I had my own separate retirement account. I remember a conversation with my grandmother. She's no longer with us, but every time I would change a job, she would be like, why, you don't need to do that because you won't have a pension when you are ready to retire. And I had to explain to her, well, grandma, number one, there's not a lot of jobs that are giving you pensions anymore. You have to save for your own retirement. It is portable. You can take it with you. And so I definitely would not put all my eggs in one basket. And I actually do have a pension, thankfully, because I used to work for the federal government, but that is very few and far between. They just don't do that anymore for financial reasons. So I would definitely supplement on my own with my own retirement account.
Just think of multiple streams of income.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you all. Another question came in. Would I need a financial advisor to begin investing? I need all the advice I can get. I love it. And so I would say when I started my own I did not have a financial advisor. I know Dr. Butler suggested a couple of apps that she used. And I heard of a few of those apps. I went out and kind of researched the apps and was like, okay, I'm going to use this one. And that is really how I began to invest. And again, I'm not going to tell you that the first couple of stocks that I invested in, I made buku money. I mean, I was like, oh, it's losing money. And it lost money for a while, but it's okay. You're investing for the long term and you kind of stay in it for that. But then as you continue to research stocks on your own, you will find some things that you're willing to invest in. So I did not have one when I started investing.
Mm-hmm. I didn't either. I did it on my own. And then finally, so I could tie up all my financial affairs. I do have an in-house financial advisor, but yes.
And so another one was, what advice would you give someone new to investing as far as choosing a stock?
Well, I talked about how I picked mine. Now it is a little more involved because I know how to do more research and looking into it. But I started with things that I use and things that I know that the public use. Always read. I read a lot. I read books. I read newspapers, online. What is going on in the world? I work in healthcare and the COVID vaccine. So I had to follow that information for my job. So I knew the drug company that was developing it or working on developing them. I knew which one was going to be coming out first. And this was not insider information. This was just me following the trend so I could stay abreast and educated for my job. So I bought into Moderna. Another company, the Emerging Bio Solutions, we looked at, in our investment club, it was like COVID vaccine adjacent. They didn't develop a vaccine, but they had they were involved in it. And so looking at those trends, I was an early adopter for Tesla. Knowing that electric cars are going to be the new wave. Now the big three are into, producing electric vehicles. And so sometimes it's just stepping out on faith. Now, one of the things that you must know is depending on what the stock, especially if you're doing something new, it could be up and down. You just got to ride the wave. Just let it go. If you're reacting to every uptick or downturn with your stocks, you will never that's just hard to manage and you probably won't do as well, but they're gonna go down, they're gonna go up. The key is just to, just be steady and then just keep putting your money in and keep reinvesting any dividends that you get. Some platforms like it's not Share Builder anymore. It went over to E-Trade, I believe. E-Trade bought all of those. Or Schwab. Schwab has a thing called Schwab Slices that you can get pieces of stock. Amazon stock is trading at what, $2,500, $2,700 a share. So I don't know, unless you just got a spare $250,000 sitting around, that doesn't mean you can never own Amazon. You can put your $500 to it and get pieces of it until you keep building, until you have a sizable amount. And so as Claudia, Ms. Chavis had already told us, it's not about just jumping out there, throwing all your money out there. Start small, but be consistent.
And I would share, I started like Katasha. I did stuff that I liked. I too had Target, but then I don't read like Katasha does. I just don't, but I listen. I listen to what people are saying. She may not know it, but she'll be talking about stuff and I'll be like, okay, I'm writing a note down. I don't say anything, but I'll write a note down and then I'll go and research when people are saying different things in conversation in social settings about companies or things that are coming down, especially around technology. I'll just go and do my own research on my own. So I think that there are a variety of ways and opportunities for you to find out, hey, what's happening. But I think the key is you have to go in and just also try to research it on your own and really compare it to other companies. I know when we talk about our stocks, we don't go, okay, it's just one stock. We look at what's it doing in the industry, and we look at who are their competitors and what are their competitors doing. So we really do get a broad picture of what's happening with the stock. There's a couple more questions. I don't understand rates for investing. Are there any books or webinars you can suggest? That one's outside my scope. But
you can take you can take a private membership in Better Investing. Go to their website and there's all kinds of tools on there that you can join and just start to study yourself. It's the same thing that we use, but we use it as a club. So I suggest that you go look at Better Investing, and there's webinars on any information you want.
Yeah, here's a Better. It also gives you a magazine every month. One of the ones I look forward to when it talks about like the top 100, top 250 stocks, just a lot of information. I feel like I even bought like Investing for Dummies before, or maybe Investment Clubs for Dummies. The For Dummies series really brings it down to a palatable level. And so that worked. But Better Investing has lots and lots of resources.
Yeah, great, thank you. So there's one question in there about the differences between stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And so I can tell you stocks are ownership in a company is kind of the best way to describe that one. And then mutual funds is a combination of stocks. So for example, a mutual fund may consist of, I'm just going to grab some companies, Starbucks, Disney, Capital One, Tesla, and maybe 5 or 6 others all put together. And that makes a mutual fund. And then bonds are something that are generally issued. I think they're generally issued by municipalities,
governments.
from that standpoint. So that's kind of a high level overview of that particular question.
And bonds, you're always gonna make money on, but it's gonna be tiny amount. So the return, it's a guaranteed return, but the return is really small and it takes a long, long time.
Thank you for that.
But it's safe for people who are risk adverse.
Another question is Robinhood, excuse me, the app a good way to start? And I know a lot of people who use Robinhood. I have a Robinhood account as well. I think you need to find just an app that you're comfortable using and it's easy for you, especially if you're starting out.
I would be very careful with Robinhood. Make sure
I have a Robinhood. I don't use it because it's too noisy. Like it's too much going on. And
one of the things you want to make sure of also is that you're investing in companies. You're not invested in the stock market. So you need to study each company yourself. And analysts are never going to always agree on them. But I've just decided that I can make a decision based on good information. So it's not gambling. The risk is one thing, but gambling is another thing. So just know what you're doing. I don't touch Robinhood.
So
but I'm more conservative than they are. I'm already retired.
right. And she brought up, like, that's a fair statement that she just said. She's retired. So her risk is probably gonna be less because she now has to live. She's not making money at a job per se. And she, you know, she needs to make sure that her investments are going to sustain her through her retirement. For me, I'm still working, so I can take on a little more risk. If, you know, the market bottoms out and I lose my whole portfolio, I do have the opportunity to make that money back because I'm still working. Yeah. So I can, you know, dump a little bit more in. I'm sure Ms. Chavis, when she started in 1985, then got the hang of it. You know, she probably was investing more and, you know, taking on a little more risk. But as you get closer and closer to retirement, you're on preservation now. And so, you know, her risk is a little less than what mine would be at my age, knowing that I got to work for like 15, 20 more years, unfortunately, unless I strike it rich or something. But that's something to note, like, where are you in your financial journey? How many more years do you have left to work? Do you have somebody that is supplementing your income? How much money do you think you need to survive in per year in your retirement? Like, what do you want your retirement life to look like? And so all of those are important considerations.
And then I know someone asked us, were you concerned with losing money when you started? I mean, it's a stock market. I think we knew we were going to have some ups and downs. So that was to be expected. But the one thing that our club always focuses on is we're not in it for the quick turnaround. We're in it for the long haul. So we know that stocks will go up and they will come down as well. A couple more that I saw. I cannot speak to this one. I'm not familiar. Someone did ask about cryptocurrency investments. I actually have no knowledge on that. Do anyone else on the panel have any knowledge that they're wanting to share?
I don't. I don't know. I am not well versed in cryptocurrency at all.
Not either.
It seems risky to me, so
yeah,
I don't know.
That might be something you discuss with your financial advisor. Or just research it. You know, there are stations that always talking about the stock market, and they'll tell you about Bitcoin, but just be careful.
And I don't see any more. I think we've touched on all of the questions that were currently in the chat. Are there any other questions that people in our listening or viewing audience might have for us? I don't see anything.
No.
Nope.
Okay. So I guess we can turn it back over to our hostess.
Good evening once again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A wealth of information you ladies brought to us this evening. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Holder to give us some closing remarks.
Hi, facilitator, can you start my video? I'm getting an error for starting my video. Thank you. Well, I really want to thank everyone for participating and surrendering their precious time to us, whether as a viewer or a presenter. You know, our goal is to educate you, it's to empower you financially. And I think that we wholeheartedly hit our target. Like I said before, this is part 2 of a 3-part financial workshop series. So please stay tuned for the announcement of our final topic and workshop date in the near future. Presenters, thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge. And we look forward to hearing from everyone involved tonight again. My key takeaway personally was start early. The earlier, the better. So I will be putting that plan in place. Viewers, cheers to you for taking a step closer to your financial freedom. Have a wonderful evening. Our host must be getting her mocktail. Where did she disappear?
Was it a mocktail or was it a real cocktail?
Cocktail.
That was a mocktail.
Okay.
All right.
Someone
again-
sent us a message and said to stay on for
Yes.
a few minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just waiting for the participants.
Okay.
Just a few more and then we'll begin.
Mhm. I don't think they leaving. I have to kick them out.
While we wait, let's take a picture. Everybody smile.
You got it?
Got it. I'll send it to Sora, Deja, and have her send it to you guys. Katasha, Tamiko, and Claudia.
Okay, are we free to go, or did you need us to do something
think-
else?
Sorry, Deja wanted to actually say something to you, but she's having connectivity issues.
Okay,
So she said she's trying to connect, but she couldn't. But what I will do, I just like to thank you ladies so much for everything. I did enjoy tonight's presentation, and I'm quite sure everyone did
Yeah,
as well.
my
Gave us
notes.
Gave us a wealth of information. And the key is for us to start early. While you was doing your presentation, I was basically saying, oh my gosh, my daughter just went to college this year. If I knew this like 15 years ago, I'd have probably been rocking. But it's never too late. That's what I took away from it, to actually start. So I'm going to look into actually starting to invest. I'm not a risky person, so I probably would play it safe until I learn how to do it. But thank you ladies so much. And on behalf of Sigma Theta Omega chapter, we just want to tell you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for having us. And, you know, it is our hope that we see a lot of sorors starting investment clubs all over the US. I mean,
And
so
call us, we will help you. We're here to help you. It's for our people.
People who look like us.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
all right.
It was actually,
Oh,
it was just ginger ale and grenadine with
I love it.
lemon.
Okay.
I love it. Looks
So you ladies have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy,
Okay.
and never know, you might be hearing from us soon.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night.
You have a
Bye-bye.
good night as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good
You're
night.
welcome. Bye.